You're gonna be selling women's shoes. So it's kind of just one of the things I kind of just had to deal with.
Like, what was the type of clientele coming in there buying women's shoes at JCPENNEY at the time?
These, because you think in JCPENNEY, bro, these are easy spirits. Like, this is like, like clogs and stuff before it was cool. Like, these were like older women. I'm like, grandmas was coming to buy like orthopedic joints from me.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything glamorous for sure. Yeah, that's the clientele was definitely older women. So it was a lot of just, just me smiling, being nice, going and getting what they need. Like, they're coming and asking me for like size 13s and stuff like that, like the wildest stuff. It was never like, it wasn't glamorous at all. It wasn't a lot of flirting going on.
Probably was, but we don't have to share.
Yeah, it probably was.
But okay, this is when you get your first taste of commission, which is not something everybody experiences as a working professional or just working at all. Do you remember how the commission was structured at that time period for you to sell shoes?
I was getting peanuts at that time, bro. I was probably getting I would get like an extra $50 in my check. They were kind of like just, I was there for like, maybe 15, 20 hours a week, but it wasn't anything worth anything at all. Like I almost didn't even know that I was getting commission until they pointed out to me that I was getting extra for it.
Okay. Okay. Wow. That was your first sales gig, but yet you didn't really get a taste of that commission, which from a sales perspective, that's typically when it's no turning back. When you get that commission check, that make you kind of go like, oh, really? And it's like,
yeah, I remember when that happened. I do know when that happened, but that's a little further down the road.
I'm gonna actually hold on to that joint, and we spoke about him earlier, but look like he stopped through. So shout out to the homie Demetrius, man. When it comes to that original sales job, like, did you ever leave sales and come back, or did you just stay with sales from that moment forward as you matured throughout your professional life?
Oh no, I left, man. There were times because I feel like in order to appreciate sales, you do have to leave at some point and try to figure other things out. So I definitely left, and that was more around like post college. That's when I was trying to find other ways and things that I might be able to get into. But I eventually, one thing that does show you is that it's not much that's going to pay you like sales. Right? Mm-hmm. It's not much that's going to value your time and energy that you put in and give you that reward. But you have to leave, and go work for a salary and like mature a little bit in life before you realize that, oh, this is something I can kind of milk for whatever I want to get out of it.
That's a great way to frame it. So with that said, then you get your taste of sales from a high school, and you went to school. Where'd you go to spend your time in undergrad?
Undergrad was at UNCG.
Okay.
Greensboro.
And were you in Greensboro at the time? Were you commuting in that, or did you relocate to Greensboro for that time period?
Yeah, I relocated to Greensboro. I went straight to Greensboro, spent my time on campus, lived the dorm life, everything.
Shout out to UNCG. I'm curious. Your time at UNCG, what were you thinking you were going to do after school professionally when you were there in school?
That's a very good question. Run the question back for me.
All right, bet. When you were in school at UNCG, what did you think you were preparing yourself for? What did you think you wanted to do professionally when you were actually in school?
I was an English major in African American studies. Honestly, I thought I was going to go to law school, to be completely honest with you. That was what I was kind of preparing myself for. That's what everybody was kind of telling me I was going to be good at. Like, oh no, you're good at talking. You like to read. You like to write. Like, you'd be perfect for law school. So that was a little bit of the thought there. But I feel like I quickly realized that, I like doing those things. But like when I have to do it, it suck the joy out of it very quickly. So
when you say have to do those things, are you talking about the reading and the writing and stuff, or what do you mean?
I feel like to the level that I felt the pursuits were going to require, I wasn't really into being a student at that level, right? And then, once I got into college, then the realism of when am I actually going to start making money and that sort of thing started to hit. So to me, it just didn't really feel, it didn't feel like the best use of my time anymore. And I honestly didn't think that I would really enjoy going to law school, right? And I'm a person that I have to kind of enjoy what I'm doing to really give it that 100%.
So, okay, if that's the case, did you change majors? Did you stick with the same major? Like, I guess just what if you didn't change, what made you stick with what you ended up majoring?
Bro, I changed majors a lot because
wow.
There was that period when I wouldn't even say I changed majors a lot. I changed majors a couple of times before I ended up on English and African American studies, which was more so in line with like the true nature of who I am as a person and what I could see myself completing. All right. My mom was a teacher. I always have kind of been good at certain subjects throughout school. So really, it was kind of up in the air. Like, do I want to be an engineer? Do I want to go to law school? Do I want to be? But of course, neither of my parents had gone to college, right? So I was the first one in the house to go in this traditional route. Both my parents went while I was an adult, and they both graduated while I was an adult. But for me, it was just that direction as far as like me being dead set on something I wanted to do and having that drive to like say, this is what I'm going to be, and this is what I'm going to school for. It just wasn't there for me. But I knew that I had to be there to do something, right? So for me, I chose the English and African American studies. I figured like all else fails, I could be a teacher. My mom was a teacher, all else fails. I figured if I didn't want to go the route of, higher learning, I could fall back, be a teacher or whatever, figure stuff out from there.
With that said, what type of jobs were you applying for right out of school after you graduated? Like, what were you actually trying to get into, and what ultimately ended up being your first gig out of school?
Right. So my senior year of college, my last semester, I was actually working full time at AT&T in Burlington, which is like 40 minutes from Greensboro. So I was driving back and forth from Greensboro to Burlington and taking class, but I was already full time at that point selling, right? So that was the actual job where I got my first commission check. And I got my first commission check. It was a few $1,000s before I graduated college, right? So I already bought a new car before I graduated college. I'd already turned up a little bit in that career. So when I got out of college, the only reason why I was looking at other career paths was because the stress, like quotas and stuff like that. I was like, there's a reward here, but if there's a way I can get money without having to worry about hitting a quota, then I'll go and I'll think about it or whatever. So that was something that always tempted me, and that's what prompted me to kind of look around at other careers or whatever. But the whole time I was already working. Like I was working at AT&T full time when I graduated from UNCG, selling telecommunications. So
that's where you got your first taste of like, oh man. So what does that mean, selling telecommunications?
So I was selling telecom is what they call like internet, cellular service. I was selling home phone, that sort of thing. If you want to set up a business line for your business, we could put a landline in your location. Like it was that kind of stuff. So just communication services, but also, cell phones, etc. So, pretty much everything related to internet, telephone, you name it, TV.
And were you dealing with like inbound customers walking into a store, or did you have to like do any outbound to get those deals? What was that situation like early on?
That was inbound into the store. I was working out of that Burlington location, and customers would come in, the local Burlington community. All right. So that's so you're meeting those people in the community, which was cool. I was making connections with people. Like I spent, 50 plus hours a week in that store. I would watch the sun come up and watch it go down.
What made that worth it for you? Because a lot of people might hear that and be like, but what, like at that time period, what made you give it that much time?